Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Michigan Athena's Burnout, Boundaries, and Balance Mental Wellness for High Achievers. I'm Amanda Toy, Vice President of Membership and Partnerships here at the Michigan Chamber, and we are so glad that you are joining us today. I was backstage with the panel, and we are in for a treat to hear some real life examples of wisdom from folks who are earlier in their career all the way to talking about upcoming retirements. If you're growing in your career, it's easy for the lines between personal and professional to just blur. So today's webinar is designed to help all of us take meaningful steps toward protecting your well-being while also strengthening your resilience. And today, to optimize your experience, I encourage you to stay engaged throughout our session. What might that look like? It's different for everyone, but we do want to encourage you to use the chat box at the bottom of your Zoom screen to share any thoughts, any questions you might have for the panelists, or even reflections, things that are resounding to you. Your voice adds a lot to this conversation, and we encourage you to engage. Also, be sure to stay till the end of the webinar for a chance to win a prize. We are giving away an Athena swag pack, which includes a crossbody bag and a local chocolate sampler from Fabiano's here in downtown Lansing, a women-ran business for over 100 years. Also, I'd really like to take a moment to thank our program sponsors. We would not be able to do all of the things that we do for all of 2026 with Michigan Athena without both of these wonderful sponsors. First, we'd like to recognize Consumers Energy, our diamond sponsor. Thank you so much. And our Lake Trust Credit Union sponsor, who is our presenting sponsor, who we get to hear a few words from here today momentarily. Thank you so much to Consumers and Lake Trust for your support on these important conversations throughout the year. And lastly, who needs a break? I'm guessing if you're on this, you may say, me. I want to encourage you to save the date, open your calendar. October 7th through 9th, Michigan Athena is having a statewide conference of professionals everywhere in their career journey at Crystal Mountain. So we're going up north. We're going to have professional keynotes with amazing stories to tell that will really stick with us for years to come. And we'll also have a little bit of a unique layout where we have some structured time that won't necessarily be in the classroom, but ways to engage with one another in a really structured way, and be able to learn from one another. So more to come. You'll hear from us soon on registration opportunities, but we really hope to see you. And speaking of seeing you, a lot of you say, oh, that would be so great to be there for the 7th through the 9th, but I have other obligations in my home, in my workplace, and we do see you. So there will be a day option as well to come for the full day. So more details to come, but we do encourage you to be part of that community and that engagement in October. And a quick plug also for Michigan Athena membership. Many of you, over 100 now, are members of Michigan Athena. If you'd like to learn more, go ahead and scan the QR code, but it is a great way to meet you where you're at in your career and surround yourself with ambitious women who want to grow together. So with that, thank you so much for coming into the webinar today. And it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Amanda Hootsie. Amanda is the AVP of Community Impact with Lake Trust Credit Union. And Amanda, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. So Lake Trust Credit Union is proud to be the presenting sponsor for this series that empowers women and provides great topics for us to explore and grow. At Lake Trust, we continue to lift one another, empower well-being in our communities with our members and team members, and look for ways to multiply positive impact. Throughout this series, the topics, presenters, and panelists have shared inspirational nuggets that apply both in our career and personal life. We are proud of our partnership with Michigan Athena and the Michigan Chamber and the ongoing impact that we continue to make together. I want to thank everyone for joining today's session on burnout, boundaries, and balance. This is a topic that I'm sure so many of us have felt at one point or maybe feeling right now. I have the honor to introduce the moderator for today's session, Emily Lawler. Emily is the State Government and Politics Editor for the Detroit Free Press. She has reported on Michigan politics and policy for more than a decade, covering state departments, the legislature, and the governor's office. She previously worked as an editor and reporter at MLive and a reporter at Mears News. She lives in Detroit, and when she's not working, she is biking or baking. So let me turn it over to Emily.
Hi, it's lovely to be with all of you, and thanks, Amanda, for the introduction. And I loved how we set this up as a space that we can all be in and be present in for this conversation. And as stated, you are all part of the conversation. So we appreciate any questions, and we'll save some time at the end for those as well. But I'd love to introduce you to our panelists, and they'll be joining, and maybe can give us a little wave as they they join. So first up is Daphne K. Epps. She's the Director of Youth Services for the Workforce Economic and Development Division of Mott Community College in Flint. And she's bringing 19 years of in-depth career experience to this conversation. So we're glad to have her. Next up is Megan Kite-Corian, coming to us from Lansing. She's part of Dykema's Government Policy Advisory Group, and she has more than 15 years of experience in Michigan's political and policy arenas, especially specializing in appropriations, healthcare, local government, procurement, economic development, nonprofit tax policy, and clean energy financing. So glad to have her with us. And Suzanne Greenberg is the Executive Director of Children Trust Michigan, the only statewide agency solely dedicated to the prevention of child abuse and neglect. She has more than a quarter century of nonprofit experience to bring to bear in this conversation. So I am very excited to have all of our panelists joining us for this conversation. And like I say, I think we have some great experience, and we were talking a little bit backstage about how we're all at different career points and have some things to share that may help you now or maybe along the road. So, one of the first questions I have, and I think this is important because it's about some early warning signs. And Suzanne, I'm going to toss it to you first. High achievers often don't recognize burnout until they're deep in it. What early warning signs should people look for before they sort of hit that breaking point?
Thank you so much, Emily, for your kind introduction. I am thrilled to be here, and it's hard to talk when not knowing exactly who's in the room. So I just want to share with you that high achievers is always a challenging term because I think we all, when we love the work we do and we're committed to it, it's hard not to give it your all, and especially if you're someone who believes in the why or the mission of the work that you're doing. I have always said that as a survivor myself, I catapulted out of bed. Like I am just like, let's go. We got stuff to do. There's kids getting hurt. We need to focus. And I don't care how tired I am, et cetera. Let's go. But what I notice is when the stress is building, I start to have, and I don't typically have it in my over 30 years of working in this field, I don't typically have that Sunday night, like, I don't want to go to work. I'm like, I got things I got to do. And typically, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but start doing the work sometimes early on Sunday morning, early on Saturday morning, so I don't take away from some family time. But truth is, what happens for me is I start to Sunday night sort of dread, that I have to face something, or a lot of somethings. And like late last year, we had a big change in funding, and so it was a very stressful time. And I think also waking up and just like in the night, like, okay, it's 3 a.m. I gotta write this thing down. And sometimes it's enthusiastically as we prepare for like our exciting auction, but when it's stressful, it's like, don't forget to tell this person that, don't forget to do this. And feeling indecisive too, feeling like, which I'm normally very happy to make a decision, or change is my middle name, I love change, but when people throw changes at and I'm under a tremendous amount of stress, I'm not as good as at limber, as I like to say. I also find that I'm a little quicker to kind of, what I say, blow. When I say to someone, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, blow, like that wasn't really a blow up. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe in yelling at people, but when I'm more like curt, then I think, ooh, sorry, I need to step back. And I know I'm less tolerant, and especially as it starts to see it in my own team, people are taking time off for sick days a little bit more. I hear a little bit more of like a negative tone in some of the conversation as opposed to, how's your weekend? And so it's just sort of a lot of truly EI feelings, checking the culture, the temperature of things. And then for myself, just really those changes in what I'm normally like making decisions or rolling with it, not doing that so well. So yeah, thanks.
If
Yeah,
I may.
oh, go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah. Again, thanks, guys. I'm super excited to be here as well. I look at a burnout. It, it it rarely shows up all at once, right, Susan? It's a quiet build, and before you know it, you are in the middle of it. You think you're losing your mind. Like, what's really going on with me? And then the biggest thing that I experienced was the disconnect. I love what I do. I love working with my young adults. I love my team. I love what we stand for. However, it got to a point for me where I was going through the motions. My passion, my excitement, um, it wasn't there, and I couldn't find it, and I didn't understand why I couldn't find it. So um, I would share that we pay attention to these small things that Suzanne and I are sharing at this point, because it doesn't start with the collapse. It starts with the constant draining of our joy, our passion, our focus. Um, and if we can catch it early, it gives us the chance to reset before we break, and then we don't know what happened and when it happened and why. Thanks.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. And I think a lot of this can sort of sneak up on us. Um, Megan, I want to toss it to you. For many of us, especially in sort of the passion careers that Suzanne mentioned earlier, you know, productivity and your own identity sort of end up going hand in hand. But how can someone begin separating their self-worth from their output in that way?
Yeah. Yeah, such a great question. And um, the most immediate thing that came to mind actually was a conference speaker that I was able to hear a couple years ago, and he did an audience exercise that really stuck with me, where he asked everyone in the room to think of one thing they love that has absolutely nothing to do with work or family and just something that lights them up. And I think for a lot of people, like that was really hard because you often go to, your kids or your loved one, or you are so passionate about your job that you're in it all the time and you love it. But to think about like what is it that personally, sparks your joy and have to tell people at the table. It was, I think, a really interesting um, exercise. And his point was that for the rest of that conference, he said, when people see you in the hallway the rest of the time, they're not going to remember your title or your quarterly numbers or all of these marks you're hitting, but they're going to remember that, you love traveling or you love playing pickleball at 6 a.m. or reading historical fiction, whatever it was, right? And it was a really simple reminder that people ultimately connect with who you are and not just what you produce. And so I think particularly for high achievers, we just forget that in our identity, right? And it becomes too tied to performance metrics and deals getting closed and meetings. And honestly, like if all of that disappeared tomorrow, you would still be this really interesting person with really great relationships and have all of these other things that, are important about you. And so I thought that was really a simple way to send that message that it's not just all about, your productivity and your work, but there's more to you than that.
I love that. And if there's anyone in the room who needs to hear that, it might be me. I will say. I think that your career and your identity can go hand in hand. But I saw a lot of claps and a lot of hearts coming up in the chat. So if you want to share your one thing, just, pop it in the chat. Mine is biking. Makes you feel like a kid again instantly, especially if you're going down a hill, not so much when you're going up.
Love it.
Daphne, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, just what I had to learn coming through all of this is because I'm a doer. I gotta write it down. I got a to-do list. Um, but what I found is I had to do a mindset shift, right? And I had to go, okay, not what did I get done, but how did I show up? Right. How did I show up for my team? How did I show up for myself? And that began to give me ground. I got grounded with it's not always this, this. Go, 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 shift, shift. It is, hold up, let's pause. Now, how did I show up today? Now, what I got accomplished, because it shows the difference between what I do and who I am. Right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
love
I would.
everything in the chat right now. That's fun. Thanks, Emily, for saying that.
I do too. Yeah, I've called out a couple. I saw nature, I saw reading, I saw cooking, I saw
mhm.
puzzles, and I think maybe we keep these in mind as we're going through this conversation because we may come back to some things that make us
Right.
avoid
'Cause
burnout
we're
and
not
reconnect with
perfect.
ourselves.
Right.
But
We're not perfect. So let's
yeah,
do something fun and silly and yeah.
Mhm. And try
but
some things. Like you may
Yeah,
not be really good at it, but okay. I mean, if you ever
that's
try
right.
golf and you're not good at it, you're over in the green, over in the rough all the time, and your friends are like, "Hey, let the ball go." Like it's okay. You don't have to be the best at
Right.
it, but I love
Let's
it.
do it
But I'm
scared.
I'm not great at it, but I love it. So trying those woodworking, I mean, all the things that I thought I could try. And so I do. I think that's such a great point. I would
Mhm.
challenge us also to separate ourselves. I love what you said, Daphne, about not what you do, but like who you are. And Megan, you referred
Yeah.
to that too about this being that you are, regardless of what we do, but to separate. I have so many goals at work. Oh my goodness. Goals, we are not short of goals, objectives, whatever, name the things we all call them. But at home, I was like, just get through it. Like, get all
Yeah.
the things done you need
Yeah.
to get done
Yeah.
versus, hey, wait a minute. What does Suzanne really want? And to step back.
Hmm.
I use my annual work anniversary for that and my like marriage anniversary to sort of check in, see how we're doing, my birthday to sort of like, is this what I want my life to look at? And I think to
Hmm.
really, the separation didn't happen until I was almost 50. Like I couldn't, as long as my kids were my very, very focal point of my life, I had a hard time with that separating
Yeah.
because they were my world. And if I was improving the lives of kids in Michigan or in Saginaw, where I came from, and then here it was like, okay, do this work, but what was I really doing as a being? And that was a tough one for me to separate because if I had time, I needed to make someone's life better. My
That's
whole identity
exactly.
was making a difference somewhere, somehow. And so not making a difference on the golf course is kind of funny now. Like I'm not good at it. So okay. But so I
Absolutely.
just wanted to share the separation of those things because I think particularly as women, mothers, wives, partners, all those things were just expected you like 110,000% every time, all the
Hmm.
time. And it's not realistic, but it took me a long time. It took me a long time. My daughter has picked that lesson up in her early 30s, and I'm super proud of that because I watched and I'm like, don't do this. That's what I said. Don't
Right.
do that.
Right.
Right. I had to
Because
figure.
we have to, one last thing, and I know you need to move on, Emily, but the one perfect thing for me is permit myself to understand that I am imperfect. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a
Mhm.
perfect leader. Um, and the setbacks that we go through, they're not personal failures. They are not. They are a part of our growth. That's it. So we can be imperfect and we can make some mistakes and we can stop doing being human beings and be humans doing, right? Yeah.
yeah, and don't let me rush you. This conversation goes where it goes, Daphne.
Thank you.
Uh, but yeah, no, I appreciate it. I love all the things I'm seeing in the chat. I'm gonna have to Google diamond art after this,
Oh,
several of you. But Suzanne, I'm gonna toss to you here because setting boundaries can be one of those things that sounds simple, but is harder when you start to do it. Sometimes you're feeling guilty. What strategies can people set and actually maintain guilt-free boundaries that way?
This is a really vulnerable moment for me, and I want to share because I'm guessing with all of the women that are on here, we probably have some shared experience. And for myself, a survivor of sexual and physical abuse as a kid, I had no idea what this concept meant about taking care or expecting anyone else to take care, and so especially men, to be frank. And so, it was about like just what can I always be doing so that someone will notice I was doing a good job. And I think that it has been really clear in the last decade of my life, decade and a half or so. I've moved from working in local work to state work. And what really became apparent was that there's like this human being, human doing connection, that there's only so much I can do in a day, that even as I had the experience of working in one location for 24 years and growing it and developing in it and really impacting lives positively, left it. And then the next folks come and bring their talents and skills. So it looks different, right? And so like that transition moment, if you've had that experience where you're like, oh, they don't do that anymore. Oh, and that's okay, because now I'm going to come here and do this and make this impact. But all the while figuring out how to fill my cup, put my oxygen mask on in the plane before I help others. That was a really early lesson in managing people, because you can tell folks, take care of yourself. Hey, take an extra time off because you put an extra time over the weekend or whatever it is, and then you don't do it. And I have never been called on the carpet more than I have working here, because people really are expecting to work 8 to 5 and or 8:30 to 5 or 8:30 to 4:30, whatever it may be. And so it's really interesting to say, gosh, really, you should take extra time off. Or you doing to the doctor? It's okay. You don't have to work 5 more hours just because you took an eye appointment. We need to understand what our bosses expect and then live by that. If you work for someone who works 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week and that's expected, it might be time to look for a different position, unless you love what you did. I did that for a very long time, but I realized there was like 20 years I didn't take care of me at all. I was really low on the totem pole of priority. And so now it's like, yeah, I got new glasses and I'm getting all the things you're supposed to do because you're over 50 or 60. And like all those things now are important, and they should have been. And I'm actually kind of don't watch me, but listen to me, to my children and to my younger professionals, that this is what I learned. And if you can hear me, there's time to work out while your kids are growing up. There's time for that. You just have to walk around the house. You don't have to go out to a gym and pay a ton of money. Just take care of you. And I can't say that enough, because I do think that the boundary we often set is that we come last. And every time I'm on a plane, and blessings, I was just on a plane this last week to go on vacation and come back, and they talk about help the child, help the dependent person near you. And you're like, yeah, I forget that day in and day out. And now I'm so much better at it. I'm like, hey, it's 5:20. There's nothing urgent that we need to stay for out, because we have an auction that comes up and I need you to stay long, and I need you to take phone calls at early in the right. There's things I need. But for now, let's go. Like, you need to get home to your family, and for mom, make dinner or whatever, that go to the softball game. That's the other thing. Oh my God, do not miss the soccer game, the preschool play. My kids are 32 and 37. You do not get another chance for that, Mom. You just don't. And I feel like, I know I sound like probably your mom, your grandma, your auntie who's always saying, don't do it. I'm just saying it again. Don't do it. It's really hot for me. I'm like, get out here. Like grandmas on my team, I'm like, you need to go see them at the preschool play. You need to be the grandmother for a day. Nothing here is more important than that. I know it feels like it is, but it isn't, because you won't get that chance again. So, okay, I apologize for going on and on. I think we all can set goals, and I had some things written about that, but the truth is that we really need to take care of ourselves, and boundaries. I admire my young professionals and my children. They do it really well. Like, well, I only work till this time. I'm like, wow, how do you do that? Right? I'm taking vacation. What a good idea. Like, you didn't bring your computer. What a good idea. So I personally am learning all the time. Don't have this one figured out perfectly at all. But I was on vacation and I didn't open my computer till Sunday night. So yeah. So I was like, my team was like, hey, if you see this, I'm like, I did it. But it's a practice. It's intentional. It's like people say, you have to choose to be happy. You have to choose to be, hopeful. You have to choose not to work, and then not make excuses for it. Like, get your job done and focus when you're there, when we're paying you to get that done. But man, you got to have a life. You got to play bad golf, right? Well, every once in a while, you got to play that.
I'm glad you found some time for yourself in there, and your glasses look great, so I'm glad that made the list.
I know I can see it's a plus, right? It's a plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Megan,
Thanks.
did you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I've been seeing some of the comments too, and I have a like very fresh perspective. I have a new 18, well, not new so much anymore, but she's an 18-month old at home. And so like my perspective on boundaries completely changed when I had her, right? Because at the end of the day, like she's at daycare most of the day, and I get maybe an hour in the morning and we're rushing around to get ready, and then a couple hours at night before bedtime. And so just as far as like simple strategies that help me like I get it is very hard to um, disconnect when your email and your work is in your hand all of the time on your phone. And so I do like if I get time and I get to be at home with her for those 2 hours at night, like my phone usually is just sitting in a place I can't even see it because I've just come to realize after she goes to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, everything will still be there. Every text message will still be there. Like every email will still be there if I want to check it. And so my husband, I would just mention like I don't get the opportunity to do this, but he gets two phones, like a work phone and a personal phone. And I thought it was a little extreme. I'm like, I don't want two phones, but now it's so valuable. I mean, he truly on the weekend he disconnects. Like he does not have that work phone with us. And so if you have that opportunity, I would say that's great because like he doesn't carry stress around on the weekend if he reads an email Saturday morning and he knows he can't get to it until Monday anyways, or you can't fix the problem until Monday anyways. So he doesn't even have to deal with it, right? And so I just think like out of sight, out of mind, if you have a couple hours and you can just remove that device, it really is helpful. And I've really enjoyed kind of learning that in the last 18 months.
Go ahead, Daphne.
Yeah. So I'm on the spectrum with Suzanne. Megan, I pray for you. I pray for you because, in leadership, and when you have a hectic caseload, what I had to learn the very hard way is in leadership, boundaries, we're not being selfish when we set the boundaries. That is not a selfish thing. Actually, it's a healthy thing. Um, because it's necessary for us to continue to be effective, right? And we're talking about burnout. We'll go in there a little bit more, I'm sure, Emily. But if we don't learn how to set the boundaries, we'll learn how to be very unhealthy in our workspace. And not only will we be unhealthy, but that bleeds over to your team. It bleeds over to your coworkers. But for me, it created such a unhealthy place because I'm an empty nester. And like, my son's 40 plus years old, been out of the house for forever. And so it was okay. Let me strive now. Let me shoot for what I really want to do. Let me reach, the level of leadership, my goals that I want to. But in doing that, it really costs you. And you don't know that it's costing you until you are in it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So for me now, teachable moment is what I call them. For me now, it's okay. I can disconnect. I do disconnect, right? Because if I don't, I'm frazzled. I'm busy. I got so much going on. That's just a natural day. But if I don't find that time to say, yeah, no email, and I'm not, Friday night, Thursday night, Tuesday night is my day for nothing when I get home, or because we can be okay with saying no, and I don't need to give a whole long explanation. No, it's just my no. It's okay. That's a boundary. No, it's just the no. Because your boundaries, if you don't set them and from the way in which you've operated for so many years, right? It's just an automatic. Oh, give it to Suzanne. Well, give it to Daphne. They'll take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, well, Daphne and Suzanne had to worry about ourselves. And so boundaries are necessary. And a no is a no with love and respect. But no, not today. And that's okay.
Yeah,
And
no,
don't
I
feel
love
bad
that.
about it.
I love that. I think that's a really centered approach. And I think something we should keep in mind about boundaries is that they're teaching someone how to treat you, right? So the members of your team aren't looking at you and saying, "Oh, Emily, you're so lazy because you need this hour to yourself." They're looking at you and saying, "Emily needs that hour. She'll be back." For me, it's the emergency Diet Coke break. I will often put in my team chat, "I need an emergency Diet Coke." And it's never a real emergency, but they know that if they call me after that, they'll get a much happier version of me than if they call me before. So, but yeah, I think we could do some things that make it a little lighter. But and I will say I also resonate, Megan, with the two phones perspective.
Mm.
One thing that my team knows and that the Free Press in general knows is that if you need me on a weekend, you've got to call me. I'm not going to be sitting on Teams. I'm not going to be monitoring my email. You have to pick up the phone and call me. I think people are really willing to do that in the reporting business, but maybe some of you have better industries or like younger workforces who maybe are scared of phones. So yeah, I'm just kidding. We have a lot of young reporters working the phones these days, but Daphne, I want to stick with you a little bit on burnout. It can look different for women balancing leadership, caregiving, community roles. Unique pressures do women face, and how can workplaces better support them?
That's the best loaded question I could have today. That is, I love that. Hoping that was my question. Um, but we as women in leadership, whether it's education, whether it's in the community, doing community work, um, we carry a heavy load of important tasks and responsibilities, right? So, from leading programs, divisions, and overseeing departments, um, showing up for your staff, those type of things, again, burnout doesn't just show up, it comes slowly. So, how the workplace can better support women. First of all, women need to be able to speak up first, right? And it's okay to be able to say, I'm sorry, I cannot be my best with one more task. And say it with all the passion and understanding. Yeah, I know I'm a doer. I know I can make things happen, but my plate is right where it needs to be for me to be effective and to be successful in these tasks. Does that make sense, guys? Um, and then respect the boundaries. And Suzanne, tapping back to you, take that time off, and do not be don't feel nervous about going to your supervisor and saying, listen, I need a day, right? And I believe in today's work spaces with our voices now being heard a little more. Um, it's understandable. It really is. And so recognize that emotional labor is part of a job. It's heavy. And emotionally, if we are so bogged down with the emotional task and responsibilities, we're no good to anybody. And being in the workplace, that's the first place we need to be able to say, okay, guys, I need to pause. I tell my staff a lot, all right, I'm tapping out on Friday. It's been a very long week. It's been a very long season. We've had a lot of things going on. And so it's time for me to tap out. And by me tapping out, it makes me be a better leader once I tap back in. And I know my team, they love it. They love my tap out days, right? But then create the culture of asking for help. We're not, we're good at what we do. Um, But when you ask for help, that shows that's not a weakness, it's a strength. Um, and at the end of the day, I believe that healthy leaders build healthy teams. And then the healthy team can allow us to meet our goals and our missions and our outcomes. That's my 2.5 cents. I love that question. I'm just saying.
I would just add for any
Yeah.
employers or workplaces and people that have are in the position to do so. I mean, I'm a big proponent of encouraging and normalizing physical activity during the workday,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we all
Mm-hmm.
know movement reduces stress and it
Yeah.
improves mental health and improves
Mm-hmm.
focus. And I have a
Mm-hmm.
walking pad in my office, and while I'm still like working, at least I'm getting that movement. I mean, the reality is professionals find time to do that outside of work, right? Because you're dealing with all these other things. But I know when I get up and go to the gym the first thing in the morning, like I feel better that whole day, but it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess just from like how can workplaces support people, I would say if you can create opportunities where like you're encouraging walking groups, or you have the ability to put a fitness space in your office, or as a leader, you're like, hey, let's not do this 30-minute meeting in my office. Let's go outside and do a walking meeting, right? Like it sends a message that well-being is supported in that environment. So, and I think it obviously benefits the individual and the organization overall, because you typically have people that are in better mindsets and show up more energized for the day. So I think that's a really hard thing I struggle with personally. But I know when I intentionally try to find time to be active, like it really helps reduce that burnout feeling. So I would just encourage employers and workplaces to really think about how they can actively support that.
I love that, Megan. And I think I work out more for my mental health than my physical health.
100%. Yeah.
Uh, And I'm actually going to stick with you for the next question. So, high performers often fear that slowing down means falling behind. And how do you reframe rest as a strength rather than a setback?
Yeah. I try to remind myself very often that taking care of myself is taking care of others. I don't even remember where I heard that, but I heard it a long time ago and I think about it a lot. And I know that when I am, you know, well rested and more patient, I'm just a better partner and a better mom and a better colleague. And so I think that high performers tend to think, um, yeah, rest is just something you earn, right? Like, oh, I've worked so hard and now I get to take a vacation. But it's like, well, you could be um, considering that in a more consistent way, and you're probably going to be more productive and be a better employee anyway. And so I I really like reframing it. I really love Brené Brown. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her podcast. And yeah, I'm a big fan. So if you don't know her, I definitely recommend following her on Instagram or going to our YouTube channel. But she discusses burnout and boundaries a lot and consistently talks about how we can't show up for people um, who matter to us if we're constantly operating from depletion, right? I think she talks about like you can't pour from an empty cup, which is so
Oh,
simple
yeah,
but
that's
true. And so I think treating rest like a weakness is just going to run ourselves dry at the end of the day. And
mhm.
I I was never a great athlete. I like to watch sports, and you may have some athletes on here. I did one marathon in my life. I'll never do it again. But I try to think about it that way, right? Like elite athletes are not out there going full force on the football field every day. Like they literally build in time for recovery because that's how they know they can um, perform at a high level for a number of years, right, in their whole career. So I think if you're, if you have that experience or can kind of think about it and reframe it in that way, it might be helpful because recovery is just part of how we need to operate, and rest is how we need to be our best selves.
I love that. And Suzanne, I wonder if you want to jump in there because you've kind of lived both sides of that coin of, giving your all to other people and then now sort of, finding some more time to spend on yourself. Have you noticed a difference in how you approach work or what you have capacity for when you have that extra space?
Yes, it's funny. I'm smiling here because it is a constant intentional effort. It's not, I don't do it naturally at
Mhm.
all. And
Yeah.
I was just thinking about when I bought myself this, I bought it myself. My kids are like, Mom, you could wait for your birthday. I'm like, nope. It says live the life you love and love the life you live, depending on what size I flip at. And I wear this thing every day, except when it's April is Child Abuse Prevention Month and I'm wearing a pinwheel. But other than that, this is what I wear. My husband often says you could read the walls in my office, in our areas of my home that I've like allowed myself to do, I am motivated by the reminders that you are someone who's worth taking care of. And it
Hmm.
is a constant thing. And as a mother of a daughter and a son, like I want them to see that I learned how to do that, because not that long ago, not to be so vulnerable, but truthfully, they were like, Mom, we're worried about you in retirement. Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, oh my gosh, why are you worried? First of all, I thought I was going to fall apart. Like I would have nothing to do. And so I didn't have a ton of hobbies I'd been working on. I mean, I literally on my vacation read a book. I haven't done that in forever, but I set all kinds of goals for myself this year about self-help and take care, like taking care, not self-help, but taking care. And I think that we hear those statements all the time, like, like share your oxygen mask and don't work from an empty cup. And I love Brene Brown, by the way, super
Yeah,
motivating.
she's great.
That messaging is so enlightening and inspiring. It might be something I kind of heard before, but her language is always so good. And I don't think we can nurture ourselves enough. I know I made the mistake of thinking that the others were going to nurture me for way too long. And last about year and a half ago, I had in the last 2 years had both of my knees replaced. And prior to that, I couldn't. My kids are like, "Let's go hike this mountain." I'm like, "Yep, see you when you get down here." And now I'm like, "Let's go. I want to walk. I want to hike." And it feels so good. Yes, I've been able to take off some weight for it, but it's also more like they're not like, "Oh, Mom's going to meet us at the bottom of the hill."
Hmm.
I know, let's go. I'm going to be tired. It's probably going to make me sore, but I'm going to go. And that was they were stunned that I did that because I had to take like 6 weeks off each time at work. And I'm like, the whole thing's going to fall apart. No, it didn't. And especially, I want to comment on someone who wrote about the nonprofit sector. Like, I know there's so much I could talk about just with the nonprofit sector, but I want to say is that because our hearts are in it, it's
Hmm.
harder to do
Hmm.
boundaries and harder
Hmm.
not to say
Hmm.
yes. Because
Hmm.
somewhat for me, there's a child out there that needs me to be a little more tired today.
Absolutely.
Get your stuff, forget you. Like, just
Hmm.
get over there, right? And
Hmm.
then you got to go home and do it for your own children, of course. And I'll say honestly, that there was a period of my life where my husband and he was like number 6 on the priority list because work, 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 like work, kids, work. Like, it was just, that was my world. And now I realize I can do good work and I can be a
Hmm.
good mom and I can be a really good friend and all those things and take care of myself, which is like
Hmm.
wild. It's a wonderful experience. But again, I think our younger professionals do it better, maybe because they watched us. I doubt for sure my kids are like they are exercise every day. They're super mindful, and I really appreciate that. And I think we need to be, as I have learned from them, like it's 5:01 and they're walking out the door. But when I need them to stay, they will. It's not that they
Yeah.
won't, but I'm not staying just because I'm supposed to. That's
Right.
like I'd rather go home. I'd rather play golf badly. I'd rather, hold my child longer. So I think the priorities I feel like in our next generation are better. I also want to say something, Emily, really quick, because I know a lot of us are taking care of children and parents. My children are grown or launched, as my husband says, or off the payroll. It just depends on how he defines it in that day. But taking care of your parents is hard work, and taking care, even if they're not living in your home. Some of us have them living in our home. Sometimes they're in a home. Whatever care you're needing to give, even if it's just the worry about their health and mental health, ask for help. I
Hmm.
know that it's a really hard time, having lost my dad in recent years, but my mom is currently in skilled nursing, and it's hard. It's hard, and there's all kinds of things that go around that, whether you had a good relationship or not good relationship with your parents. It's draining. So if you have good girlfriends, that's the best. They are the best, especially those who've been through it. So reach out and ask for help. It's the one thing I think as humans that we're not always great at. And so I think please, please, please ask for help, because being that sandwich generation, that's tough. So thanks,
Hmm.
Emily. I talked a long time.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And Daphne, I'm going to sort of dovetail onto what we've been talking about here. But when we're already overwhelmed, adding self-care can feel like another task. But what are some realistic, sustainable practices that can actually help restore your energy?
Listen, this, who cannot? What self-care? I don't have time to figure that out. I still have to da da da, right? But sometimes we have to get selfish. We have to get selfish for us. We have to stop and pause and think about what's going to be better for me so I can be better for others. And it doesn't take a lot, honestly. It really, really doesn't. it isn't about adding more to our plates. It's building that space for ourselves where we can pause, where we can reset, and it doesn't take a lot. How about this? How about you going from one meeting to the next meeting? That meeting is extremely stressful. You like, oh my God, I can't believe this is all going on. I can't believe I got another task. However, if you take a pause between from that stressful meeting and before you get into that next meeting, that makes a world of difference. It's the smaller things that we can do for ourselves that makes the biggest difference for us. Taking that pause. Don't carry the issues of your current meeting into your next meeting. How about delegating? Right? We are leaders and we're magnificent at what we do, but it's also our responsibility to share these responsibilities so we can build up the next group that's coming up with us, right? That's coming up behind us. So it's okay to share some of this leadership. Restoring often comes from not doing everything ourselves. Does that make sense? Like as leaders, we can it's the days of hoarding all responsibilities are over. We have a team for a reason, right? We have a spouse for a reason. Yeah, you can take this at the house. Staff person, you can handle this for me and let me know what's going on. And again, it goes back to those clear work boundaries. Even the smallest windows can make the biggest difference of that getting up, walking around 5 minutes before the next meeting. It is not a big, heavy lift to take care of yourself in the smallest ways because those smallest ways end up being the best ways to be able to allow you to go forward. And doing one thing daily. I'm learning how to do this. So, but doing one thing daily that is just for me. It is just for me. Even if it's just 10 minutes, it makes the biggest difference. And then that 10 minutes is going to go to 30 minutes. That 30 minutes is going to go to an hour. You mess around and have a whole day of doing what you need to do for you. Even if it's just taking yourself to lunch, going to the movies, not shopping, we get in trouble when we go shopping under stress. However, but because women in leadership, we traditionally self-care is the last thing that we think about. So if we just take little chunks at a time, stop and pause. Don't take what happened in this meeting to the next, and find one thing 10 minutes a day to do for yourself and make a
Yeah,
big difference.
I think Daphne, spot on, because I think a lot of people think you need to like schedule a 2 hour massage or facial, and it's like it's not. And it honestly just happened to me last week, and it felt very timely for coming on this panel. I had a colleague show me this iPhone photo shuffle option. So I don't know if anyone's done that or has like the latest iPhone upgrade, whatever they, call it. But it's basically where your lock screen rotates through photos you select. So I chose pictures of my daughter and my husband, and I would recommend everyone also do this because
Mhm.
if you're like stressed out, you had a bad
Mhm.
meeting, it automatically shuffles the photo every like hour or
See?
half day, whatever you select it to be. And like last week, it was just awesome. It was like my little moment that I just got to experience like this little joy throughout the day with a new photo. And I got to remember, oh my gosh, that was such a fun time. And it was just like this little reset, and it instantly shifts
See?
my perspective and just kind of gives you that reminder of like, we are bigger than just this email that we're stressed about in the moment, right? And so I totally agree. Self-care is not about like large chunks of times. It can just be about tiny, like, interruptions of joy throughout your day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because as leaders, guys, self-care, it isn't about stepping away from our responsibilities. It's about sustaining so that we have the strength to carry it on,
Mhm.
right?
I love that. And I love the idea of, by all means, book the 2 hour massage if you have time for the 2 hour massage, but sometimes you book it and you curse yourself. So I would just have that sort of bite-sized backup, I think does
Yes.
help just to have, you can take 10 minutes for a walk today, even if everything goes crazy in your day. So
Absolutely.
I love that. I do want to remind everybody to, if you have questions, pop them in the chat. And we're actually gonna, in this last 10 minutes, kind of go through and hopefully include all of you in this conversation. So. Oh my gosh, I love Tamitha who put in that she sits in her car for 15 or 30 minutes before she goes in the house.
Yes.
I am also a big fan of NPR calls it your driveway moment, right? Maybe finishing out that radio story or taking your scan of social media for the day was a nice little decompression. And I'm just going to go through a couple of questions that have come in before. And if you have fresh ones, please pop them in the chat. But I like this one, and it's going to put all of us on our toes, panelists. But what's one boundary people might think they have, but usually don't?
It's a really good question.
They really.
And it's a really good question. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think that some people think they like disconnect right on the weekends or here and there. But like I said earlier, that's likely you're not, right? Because you still have access to everything in real time all the time. And so I think the more you can like physically disconnect yourself from some of that, the better. Because I think then you'll actually, like, if you're thinking you're disconnecting, like just maybe double check. And I would also say like I I find like paid time or unlimited PTO is a really like interesting thing, right? Because it sounds really great, but people don't often take that time. So I would say if you're thinking like, oh, I have unlimited PTO, I get to like, take this time off and I block it out on my day. I find myself doing this all the time, honestly, like where I schedule it on my calendar to be off, and then all of a sudden I find myself filling up with meetings. Um, and so I think that's hard, right? You need an employer that's going to like really support it and enforce it. But I would just say, like, maybe you think you're utilizing that to your advantage, but maybe double check and that you actually are taking those times off and you're completely disconnecting because, like, if you don't have 2 weeks of PTO and they don't roll over and like you don't get to see that on your, the end of the year, oh, you had 3 days off. Oh, I think that's an interesting thing people need to like check in with and make sure like you're actually taking that time for yourself.
Yeah, this is the trick of my trade. Always busy, always planning, always meetings, always that. So I would look a couple weeks out, right? Okay, like nothing's on my calendar for this day. This is my day off. You know what I mean? It's almost like you got a plan for your day off. But I find in doing it that way, then there's nothing I have to think about when I'm off. I do not open I do not open my laptop. I really have learned to turn my emails off my cell phone when I'm off work. Because then it gives me my time to do something silly, to do something fun, or to do absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. You guys should try just doing nothing. It's going to kill you. I'm going to tell you that right now because we're all leaders and we're all doing. But to find at least 2 hours on your PTO day to do nothing, somebody have to call me and email me and tell me how that felt when you do it for the first time. It's a beautiful feeling. It's beautiful.
I want to add to the one thing that I think I know I have had to really learn how to do is what I say, what I do, so or do what I say. So it's hard when I just have like it's a nasty cold or a nasty cough, and I'm like, still work. But if somebody on my team is working and I get on a phone with them, I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
and they're not in the office, so we're not like spreading it. We're just staying at home. Lay down. Like, what are you doing? Don't you got to take care of your kids, your family, the whole thing.
Yes.
So, we have to do it. We have to do it. And I've done that where my back is really sore and I'm like, I should just be on ice or something for a little bit, take a couple hours. And I don't. And they're like, well, you'd make me do it. Okay. Right. Right. So it's just it really is a learning, and I know I fall short, and I really appreciate what I call the like loving team messages, like the swift kick in the behind, like hey,
because we have to model it.
I do think that it's something that either, it's easier for you or not, but as leaders, the more you take on, the more you take on, right?
That's
Asking
right.
those 20% to do 80% of the work.
Yeah.
And so learning to say no and taking care of you, even when you're sick, like your body's like waving the flag, like,
It's
hey,
telling
like
you. It's
enough already.
telling you.
Yep.
I'm about to shut down on you. You
It does. That'll
you
take care.
yeah,
Mhm.
and we have to model that. I think we have to be, as leaders, we have to model what we expect from our staff and what our staff expects from us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think also I read something in the chat about someone who decided to leave their position, their very stressful position, because they needed to focus on, I believe it was parents. And I think sometimes we need to look in the mirror and say, is this still the right thing for me? And to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
communicate, like I'm able to
Mm-hmm.
do this, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not able to do this. And,
Mm-hmm.
to be just really that clear about, like, I know my strengths. You don't want me managing and controlling your whole financial system. I can raise
Right.
money and I can spend it, but that in between thing, I need some experts. And so I'm clear.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm good at, right? Those are the things
Uh-huh.
I'm good at. But if you suddenly make me do the other thing, I've got to be honest about what I can do, because I'm going to be stressed. I'm going to be
Yes.
so stressed. If I have to do
Yes.
that, I can. I always say, if I had to save my kids' lives, hell yeah, I could do it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so I
That's
think
right.
also for us as women, we just take on and we take on and we take on. It's sort
Yeah.
of like in the DNA. And then to be able to say, nope.
No.
Not
Right.
only is it not in my job description, because no boss really wants to hear that, but it's like that's not something I was hired to do, because I'm not something I know how to do. I can learn new things, but I also am not, that's not a skill set I have. So
Right.
anyway, I just wanted to share that, because I think oftentimes we just pile it
Take
on
it.
and we do it to
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
I want to sneak another one in from the chat here. How do you handle the people that don't understand being able to disconnect and then make you feel like you're not contributing enough because you've set boundaries? Um,
Oh. Oh.
Daphne,
Oh.
you've got a, it sounds like you have an answer for those folks in the
No,
office.
well, I did because I mean, like what? Like, really?
Mhm.
I gotta say I've been this person. As a newer reporter, I was really focused on work, obviously, and I remember there was one time where my whole office, like the parking outside was being taken over for a street event of some sort. And, my boss said, oh, maybe we should all, take off an hour early today. And I was like, we work until 5. Like I was that person. And
Oh no. It's
come
okay.
along way, but how would you deal with me? What would you tell me, Daphne?
Listen, Emily, listen. Deadlines are met. Work is okay. If it doesn't get done today, I bet you it's going to be here tomorrow. It's
Mhm.
okay. It will be
Yeah.
okay. We as women will drive ourselves bananas thinking we are the only ones responsible to getting a task or a job done. And I'm going back to something you said earlier, Suzanne, if it doesn't get done today, it's going to be all right. It'll be here
Mhm.
tomorrow. We're not missing a deadline. What we know is it's 5 o'clock and I need to go. That's a boundary. Lesson learned for me, but it's a boundary.
I
It's
think
a
it's
boundary. And
also,
it's okay to have it.
yeah, yeah, 100%. I think it's also just a conversation and communication that you need to maybe have and frame it in a way that um really showing that you're still committed to work,
Mm-hmm.
but just being
Mm-hmm.
honest with like realistic
Mm-hmm.
timelines and your
Mm-hmm.
capacity. If you're
Mm-hmm.
just able to say like, listen, I want to be able to help you with this, but
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot on my plate and a lot of priorities, and I can do it within this time frame. And
Right.
maybe that's a month or
Right.
whatever that is. But just like having that conversation, I think actually like builds trust, because then people
Mm-hmm.
know you're not just like saying yes to say yes, but
Mm-hmm.
you're saying yes and get and making sure that that you have capacity to deliver whatever is being asked, right? And so I think like it's hard for people that aren't just like that, no, or nope, we're working and we're not leaving until 5 to understand that. But I think truly like just consistently having some of those small conversations and talking about it in a way that like I have a lot, these are my priorities.
That's
If you want me
right.
to take something off a priority, I can focus on this. But like what is more important for the organization at this time, and just having those conversations. And I think it will I think it will help
It
that
will.
person kind of understand in the long run
Yeah, the
how that.
capacity to do. I want to give you my best. And what's
Yeah.
on my plate right now, I can give you my best. But right now, one more thing, something's going to suffer.
Yeah.
Right? And so let's talk about it. You're absolutely right, Megan. Let's talk about, can I
Mhm.
move this one down 2 weeks and pick this task up? Or just being honest enough to say, I'm sorry, I can't take on one more thing. You will not get my best work if there's one more thing. And we all pride on doing our best, right? And giving our best. But the smartest thing that we can do when giving our best is to know when that no is a no and say it with as much sugar and sweet and professional as you can, but come away with, I can't take this one on. I just had to do that recently. And it came out right. I didn't get the task. So we're on to something
I
here.
love that.
Sometimes your capabilities, yeah, your bandwidth, you just cannot. And bandwidth is real.
Well, adding some sugar to that no is a good note to end on here. I am sorry to be the one to draw this to a close, but honored to have been a part of it. Megan, Suzanne, Daphne, I feel like I learned so much from all of you, and I hope that our audience enjoyed this webinar too. So I'll hand it back to Amanda.
Wow, attendees, thank you so much for spending time with us. I hope that this conversation gave you time to reflect and to learn as it did for me. Emily, Daphne, Suzanne, and Megan, thank you so much. Your wisdom and insights and just raw feedback are so valuable. I have four that I jotted down. Put your phone in the other room so you can check out completely when you're able to. Sometimes we need to take an emergency Diet Coke break. And Daphne, a couple of your thoughts today that really resounded with me. I need a day and then take it. And wow, I need to follow up with you on the exact phrasing, but Daphne, you shared self-care is not shirking our responsibilities. It's about caring for ourselves so that we can be sustained to care for our responsibilities. And if that's not wisdom and a takeaway today, I don't know what is. So thank you again. And we do want to thank our sponsors, both consumers and Lake Trust. Again, we appreciate you that you are coming alongside of us and being able to help us with all of the programming throughout the year. So thank you again to consumers and to Lake Trust. And we want to also thank all of you for attending today. We want you to stay engaged. And today's winner, thank you so much for everyone, will be announced in the post-event survey. Email that will come out. And if it is you, if your name is on that email, Kate from our Athena team will be reaching out and making sure that you get your crossbody and your Fabiano's chocolates. And lastly, we want to hear from you. There's a quick survey link here on the presentation. If you have a moment before you sign off, just some overall high level feedback. It'll just take a minute on today's specific webinar. We want you to stay connected and we want to continue leading with purpose based on what our Michigan Athena community finds most valuable. So we look forward to seeing you at the next session and have a great rest of your day.